The White House reportedly plans to help El Salvador host U.S.-bound asylum seekers from neighboring countries. Experts blasted the Trump administration for sending migrants to one of the world's most dangerous countries. The U.S. and El Salvador signed an agreement on Friday that would send many asylum seekers to the Central American nation. El Salvador is one of the most violent countries in the world and is also the origin of many of the Central American asylum seekers to the U.S. The details of the agreement have not been finalized and U.S. officials did not say when its implementation would begin. The core of this is recognizing El Salvador's development of their own asylum system and committing to help them build that capacity, Acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McClennan told reporters in Washington. Read more. Mexico's AMLO faces first major crisis after U.S. immigration deal. Third safe country. McClennan met with El Salvador's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Alexandra Hill, to sign the deal, which would not apply to Salvadorans trying to flee their own country. Individuals crossing through El Salvador should be able to seek protections there, even if their intention is to apply for asylum in the United States, McClennan said. The deal with El Salvador follows a similar one that the Trump administration sealed with Guatemala, where it was given the so-called safe third country designation. Guatemala's deal requires asylum seekers who travel through it en route to the U.S.-Mexico border to ask for refuge in Guatemala first, instead of in the U.S. But the Guatemalan Congress has not yet ratified the deal. Meanwhile, the U.S. is also working on a similar arrangement with Honduras. El Salvador, not safe. Immigration advocates have criticized the agreements, saying that Central Americans do not have the capacity to process asylum claims, as these countries suffer from violence, poverty and endemic corruption. The real goal of the United States is to make sure these asylum claims are never heard in a U.S. court, said Douglas Rivlin, spokesman for Washington-based pro-immigration group America's Voice, said of the US-El Salvador agreement. Refugees International President Eric Schwartz blasted the decision. Where will they declare a haven for asylum seekers next? Syria, North Korea. This is cynical and absurd. El Salvador is in no way safe for asylum seekers, Schwartz said. Read more. Deal or no deal, U.S. needs Mexicans. Megan Lopez, country director for El Salvador at the International Rescue Committee, said the U.S. government is attempting once more to turn its back on extremely vulnerable people. El Salvador is not safe for many of its own nationals and is struggling to meet the needs, which is why many seek asylum in the United States. It is unrealistic to expect El Salvador to be able to offer protection to asylum seekers fleeing conditions comparable to those in El Salvador, Lopez added. El Salvador, a nation of roughly 6 million people, has been plagued by gang violence and, according to a 2018 State Department report, human rights issues in the country included unlawful killings of suspected gang members and others by security forces, forced disappearances, torture, arbitrary arrest and detention, and lack of government respect for judicial independence. JCG per kiloliter app. Reuters. Each evening at 18:30 UTC, DW's editors send out a selection of the day's hard news and quality feature journalism. You can sign up to receive it directly here. Let's block ads. Why?